The very best D&D adventures have zero plot. They're just a cool, dangerous place to go, and you just all you need is a reason to go there. Fight me, baby. Fight me, guys. What do you think?
Fight you, Joe. Yeah, we took so long to get to this recording that I actually forgot what we were talking about again.
That's the topic.
I'm like, which one are we talking about? The best. So the premise is the best. Are you just saying D&D or just fantasy adventures?
I think adventures.
The fantasy adventures are the best without plot.
Yes.
I am gonna say no.
No.
It's no. I'm not saying no, you don't. But I don't say they're the best ones.
Okay. All right.
You know, without the plot.
Opinion. All right. And Paul, what's your take? So. We have laid out my premise. Tim has his. Now, Paul, what's your take on the situation?
Well, I think if you plot and story, if you have the best D&D games, I think, are random, right? There's something. There's no end. You're not trying to get to the end of something. It's not already pre-decided in that regard. So I think the best D&D games are, start somewhere in a dark place, roll up a few random things, and let's see what the players do.
You're talking about a game, a campaign, or an adventure?
I think an adventure, the best adventures. I think I think if you parse it and say, well, what's a plot? What's a story? Are we talking about a predetermined adventure? Like example, Hoard of the Dragon Queen, right?
Yes. Ooh, visual aids.
Oh, we got the visual aids.
Right.
There's
a whole thing. And by the way, this is not a great adventure. This is not the whole thing. No, I won't get into it. It's not a great adventure.
It is not.
But if you picked one starting point, right? Yep. I always say use these as source books, not adventures.
Yes.
If it's a source book and I go to the Goblin encampment and go, well, what do you guys want to do now? Right? If I start with something, I'm starting with just a particular location. There is no plot. There is no end game of the story. It's just, hey, I'm going to choose a thing. We're going to start there. And let's see what the players say. And then I'll pick up maybe on what the players are saying that would then develop into something else.
Yep. I submit as proof of my thesis. Exhibit A, Your Honor, right here.
B2.
Out of Borderlands. Skinny ass little book. Compare because size matters apparently. Right, so there we go. Keep on a Borderlands. More campaigns took way longer running this thing than anything, and millions and millions of these are published, right? So it started as a backbone, right? And what is it? You go to a keep on the Borderlands, and you have excursions into the woods, a bit of a hex crawl. You find the caves, you kill the shit, you take your stuff, you go back, you lather, rinse, repeat, right? And it wasn't just a kick down the doors dungeon. There was something going on there, and it's up to the DM to describe what was going on. There is something going on, but the story of what was going on in those caves of chaos doesn't define the adventure. There's no predetermining ending, right?
Well, I don't think that's. I actually don't think that's the premise, though, in a way, because I don't think it has to be. 5th edition has made it that. Has created the railroad. The story is the adventure.
Yes.
And as you guys say, you use those as source books. Let's be fair, they're shitty source books too. But they're better as source books than they are.
They're idea generators, if you want to call them.
Yeah. They'll tell you what you can do better. You're going to be very confident running your own game after you read those things. Absolutely.
Are you?
But what I'm saying is because you're going to feel confident that your ideas are better.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that's absolutely true.
That's how I meant that. Okay.
That's best.
But let's because I'm more of an example guy. So, and there's different layers.
I'm more of a butt guy, but whatever gets your float boat.
Yeah. And I think we know you're an elbow guy a few minutes ago.
Yeah,
elbow. Yeah, you're into the joints. Yeah.
I like the joints. And I went to go take a dump before we started this. I take a little hit too, so that's why it was a little longer. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Hail tequila,
Now I know
too.
what your thumbnail is going to be. So I
Enjoying
think
a
there's
shit
different.
tequila. Yeah.
There's different ways. I mean, it doesn't have to be when you're given the background of an adventure. You guys know I write a few adventures here and there.
I haven't read any, but I've heard the rumor.
No, I know you have them all stacked up in a corner collecting cobwebs. But I'm going to give Paul's example. I think it was Paul's example just recently. Well, your example too, Joe. Both of you guys got set on adventures that required you to go to a particular place. Did you know much about them? You knew the premise about them. Paul Hobbs explored a temple of Dedragoria within the harrowing and everything. Did I put a lot of story, but I put enough information there in it that, he knew he was going into the shit. As soon as he knew he had to go into the harrowing to do it, he was crying a little bit, but we got past that. And then
he's a pussy.
Yeah, anyway, and then with yours, you knew you were going into a temple of Lavinia underneath within the trying to go into a town you knew that was already against you kind of thing. So the story was kind of already in place through play.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things we've explored these things. So I think the best adventures with the stories with it is stuff that you've already built up before you actually go on the adventure.
Yes,
so there's thing that you've played and you've set into place. Maybe you did click, and I'm not talking about the generic. You go into the tavern, you roll D4 on the rumor table, and you kind of collect one or two rumors that might be true or not. This is something that maybe 2 or 3 sessions ago, and this is, I'm going to put this as a side for a future topic for it, the long play and campaigns on how to get things to do the long play instead of doing the short plays.
That's good.
But you plant the seeds throughout the adventure and stuff. It might not make any sense at the time that you're doing it, but you can build on that. And it doesn't have to even make sense to you at the time. It just can be like this little extra detail that you thrown out. But now that it's thrown out there, now that's an idea. Now I can start building on that. And now I can build this adventure where I can kind of hang it out there, see if you're interested in it, or put something like in your case, Joe, that was one of you didn't really have a choice in the location. It was just part of your quest of your character kind of going through one of the things you wanted to accomplish. So I think that in that case, the story within the
campaign,
the adventure, well, even just that adventure too, but I mean, it's built into the campaign. It's built into the campaign, but the adventure story, I guess, is built there. But like kind of do like a 5th edition or even a Pathfinder adventure path. Any of the Dragonlance back in our day when they put that out, basically it was just a recreation of the books. And if you didn't do certain things at a certain time, there's nothing worse than just you have to do this to go on to that. And any other great idea you might have is automatically canceled because it's not considered.
It's an inflexible, inexperienced DM, and I think that's
in a writer, absolutely.
That's the root of the problem is that these books are written they're assuming new, inexperienced, and here we're going to put training wheels on your DMing by giving you a book that quite literally breaks their chapters down. Right here, where is it? Let me see. It breaks all the chapters down by like episodes.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They call them either chapters or episodes. Yeah, these are chapters. And then the other one, they call them episodes. And so it's like chapters are in novels, episodes are in TV shows. This is a thing which contains encounters.
Right.
That's what they're missing the point. It just is a bunch of encounters. That's all it should be. Right. And there should be maybe some connecting thread as to why they're all in the same area, but it doesn't have to be. Yeah. What do you think, Paul?
I would like to know from Tim. I think players always have the best ideas. They're better than anything that I write. They're better than anything. They're better than the players' ideas are just better. So if a DM is listening to their players, they're saying, okay, I had this idea. They said that. I had not thought of that. Right. I think we're going to go with that. But I would like Tim to share a behind the screens where Hobbs said something or did something.
Behind the screens. I love that phrase, Paul.
I would thank you. I would like to know the secret behind the screen there that that of you where I said something, Hobbs said something, or did something that changed the trajectory of what was about to happen.
Oh gosh, you're putting me on the spot. You remember, I couldn't even remember the category we were going to talk about 5 minutes after we started. So now you're asking me to think of that. I'm sure that, I mean, it happens all the time. Well, let's use an example for, I can use something for Joe's campaign real quick, because it just pops into my head. It's the freshest and everything like that. So I had it in my mind that, Joe's character and Ken's character were going to try to sneak out of the city. And I had some ideas of how that was going to work. I had some encounters written down here, kind of thing. I had like 3 different things of possibilities, and I gave each of them sort of like, I was going to just roll a D6 to see which one may have encountered, or if they encountered it all. But what ended up happening is they didn't sneak out of the city that way. Joe came up with a perfectly logical idea that said, hey, you know, because he used to be a sewer worker in there. Can I get up here and I'll talk to this guy? Can he guide me into maybe a sewer that leads me out of the town, where I'm not trying to escape the city? I'm just using the sewer system to escape. Absolutely, because that makes complete sense. It makes sense that his character would do it, and there absolutely would make. There's no reason why it wouldn't. So I kind of we kind of did that. But there was one particular encounter I wanted to have, and it was going to be outside the city anyways.
Oh, we're verging into our next topic, Tim.
I know. I'm kind of steering away, but so what I did, while I changed everything because of what they decided to do, which I thought was great, and then it got me to think too a little bit more about how the city's structured. Like I said, create through play, you know, and that made me think about my city that way. But then I was also able, you know, and we're going to talk about this in a different episode about a quantum encounter kind of thing. But I still had a particular type of flavor I wanted the players to explore. And actually, you'll appreciate it, Paul, because they encountered a group of doom singers.
Oh yeah,
that were kind of raiding outside the Andaluvian hills, out, you know, just the scorn and everything. So it was fun
because I almost relied upon my other PC's knowledge. I forgot it was Columbo with your Doomsinger. It wasn't Snickle. I was about to dump some Doomsinger knowledge on everyone. You know, I'm like, oh fuck, wrong guy. So I had to pull back.
Same thing. I have to think of my past characters between Eleanor and Karen and this. Which character knew what?
Yeah.
From the thing. So I'm in the same. I'm in the same boat.
Yeah, but I'll do that. I mean, it's just adapt, and I mean that's why improvisation is so critical a skill. It's one of the, I think probably one of the most important, if not the most important skill a GM can have, because you know, trying to predict what players are going to do, it's a losing battle. So just enjoy the ride, because it's so much fun to trying to figure out what you guys are going to do, or just riding along with what you guys are going to do, and see what kind of BS you guys are going to get involved with.
And I think what you said there makes sense in regard that, why do they do this? Why do they put out these monstrosities, this scripted?
Well, you know why they do it.
Money and big books and print and fails.
Because you're not going to make money on this.
This is
they're not going to make money on that. They have to make that, and they have to fill it up with so many words. I mean, there's a word count involved with that, and then of course, then back when they actually used real art, you know, that costs money. And then they need to have that $50 book. Yeah, I mean, I loved it better with the short ones.
This is 32 pages, right? And
I know.
This is what the fuck many. What do we got? 256, right? So
but it's also a 4 font. So if they printed it today,
exactly, this would be 64. So effectively, this book is 3 to 4 times bigger, right? But it contains 5% of the most useful shit that this book has. My contention is that if they put out 4 of these a year instead of one of these a year, you'd make more money, put out better content.
I've been saying that,
but,
yeah,
but
absolutely.
Failed novelists won't get their fucking rocks off by writing this shit anymore,
right?
You know? But I think the other thing too, I think what they're scared of is fear, because they know that new DMs, which let's face it, 5e brought a lot of new DMs in, are scared to do what you just said, improv, scared to wing it, scared to not have training wheels. This is the what do they call it? The helicopter generation, right?
I think they improv in a different way, though. The 5e, it still improvs quite a bit, but they just do it in a different way than we do. They improv more with their characters and acting and kind of the social inner aspect of it, where we improv more campaign wise.
Well, the improv, but I'm talking about DM improv. What we're talking about before is a DM should be able to improvise on the spot what's happening with a campaign, right? Players are always going to improv. I mean, there's a greater focus now because of Critical Role in the voice acting, but players are always going to improv and riff off each other. But the DM improv is what Wizards of the Coast is trying to. We know we need DMs. Let's make it easy for them. Let's put training wheels on.
Well, if I mean, you make adventures, you make those things because you want people to need you. If you need you can't run this by yourself. You clearly cannot. You gotta have an adventure. But I will say this, it's not very much different. I mean, look, when you were getting, whether it's Borderlands or whether it's In Search of the Unknown or whether it's, we talk about these adventures from the OSR and all that in very high regard. We talk about, whether it's, the slave lords or whether it's, whatever it is. I'm wondering though, the question would be, what if the goal was not to have any adventures, like pre-written adventures? What if you just said, look, there are no adventures except the ones you create. There's only, what do you think the feedback would be if you just said, if the whole premise was, look, you just don't need to buy an adventure. We're just going to teach you how to have a starting point and then how to do what we've just been talking about for the past 10 minutes. I mean, you don't need a pre-written anything.
That's not a business model for them.
That's the problem, Paul. Then all you're doing is selling rule books. Once you sell your RPG, you want something with the DMG, you're done, right? So they can't keep making money off of this shit. But in a way, that's what our videos are doing, right? I mean, we're going behind the screens. I like that phrase, as DMs, and telling you what to do and how to do that shit, right? That's what we do, and that's why we do these channels. I mean, there's a lot of DM advice channels that'll give you a top 5 things to wipe your ass with. Who gives a shit, right? But what we're doing is like real DM advice from 125 years of playing collectively here.
Right, but let's not forget too, like when we were doing like B1, B2 back in the day, one of the things that was a lot of fun is that was a shared experience. We didn't have all these vast games, didn't have fast modules, but you could say I ran B2, and you like, oh yeah, I did too, and then we could start talking about running B2 because there was no internet, so basically you had to do everything face to face. So it was that shared experience that you could share with pretty much everybody you played. Oh yeah, I did this one, this, and then that gave you ideas on how to improve your game by having that similar. Even though it's a written adventure, it served its purpose back then because we could learn from each other. It was tougher because we were, like I said, we were all separate because we didn't have electronic devices shoved up our asses 24 hours a day. But it was our way, I think, of, that's how I kind of learned. It was difficult for me to run anything because of obvious things, but it did help me learn on how other people ran their games using the same material. So we had a baseline. So the adventure module was the baseline, and we could just see how people reacted to it. So I think it does, a written adventure does serve its purpose. And to Paul's point, I think when you get to a level, that's eventually your evolution that you would go to. You would have that, because usually a lot of times when I run my campaigns, how many set adventures do I have? Usually none. Maybe maybe once in a while what I'll do, like in the beginning, is I'll have an adventure I've written or somebody else has written kind of as a hook, maybe in the beginning, just to get things going, just to get the wheels going in the campaign and give the party maybe some chance to get a little money to improve or find some loot and stuff like that. So, but I think what Paul says is the evolution to what you get to after you have enough experience with that baseline, with these other adventures that you can share with other people and share the commoner experiences that you have.
Yeah, and I didn't have that either. All my DM did homebrew stuff, so I have I didn't, I think I ran myself. By the time I had some confidence to do it, I thought, well, I'll run a pre-written adventure. And I think it was like Isle of Dread, something like that.
Yeah,
I did horrible. I did a horrible job.
Oh, that's a tough one to run. That's a tough one to start out with, though.
Yeah, and I was like 14, 15 years old trying to figure this thing out, which is, whatever. But, and then I stopped after that. I didn't really run anymore. And my journey of DMing really only started heavily probably 20 years ago, maybe 24 years ago, something like that, where I thought, even then I thought, well, I need a pre-written thing. So I would have, because I was running something from Pathfinder First Edition for some other people who wanted to play. I had to figure it out, and we did that. But I think Tim's correct in saying that you do have to. You eventually evolve out of that because the more you read the adventures and you go, well, this doesn't make any sense. How could I run this? I don't.
But that goes back to the point, Paul. You evolve out of it,
right?
You evolve from this, which is encounters, which is like the topic of the video, right? You create an encounter, and then you evolve from creating encounters. You starting with something like this better helps you to run pure, true sandbox emergent campaigns, right? Starting from this, your evolutionary tract is going to be very, very different. Like you've gotten so far down a certain evolutionary trail, you got to go backwards to go forwards.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of your whole channel's based on that, Joe. I mean, you're bringing in 5e guys to the kind of an OSR kind of thing. So there must be enough, like even Shadow Dark, they're bringing in the 5e people who have gone down that track, but now they want to explore maybe beyond that and get out of those things. So I don't think you have to backtrack. It's just maybe a different path.
Oh, it's backtracking your mental, the way your brain is wired about what D&D is. That's what I mean by backtracking.
From I need an adventure to I can run an encounter and see where
not only that, it's I need an adventure. Now I want to run my own encounters. This will start you off with a better basis to run your own encounters in a sandbox. Whereas I need an adventure, you grow out of this. I need to now create my own shit. Well, Christ, I'm not a failed novelist. What am I going to do? Right. So you gotta unlearn so much. If you started here, a lot less than you had to unlearn if you started here. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and then because I have like this one, Joe, so let me grab this real quick. So just to keep it in your example, so Wizards of the Coast decided to do this to your module. This is the starter step for Heroes on the Borderland. This is not a good thing to learn from.
Great big piece of shit.
It unfortunately it is. And I tried to be, when I was doing my reviews on it, I was trying to find, pick out the good parts and different things like that. I was being nice, but I also called it out on its bullshit. But then it got to the point where it's like, this is just, it's not a good product to start out on because it would make you do rolls that didn't need to be rolled. It puts you on adventures that were
dumb.
They were stupid. They just made no sense.
The 3 pigs or the 3 goats or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, the whole goat thing. I think
you're in a keep. How could they be lost?
Right. The keep is like 200 feet long or whatever. You can hear the fuckers from a mile away, for crying out loud. Just wander around till you hear them or something, or wait till you smell the smell of frying goat somewhere, and then you can find them. Yeah. Kind of deal. So, and now that's a perfectly great adventure, little quest if you're dealing with like kids. I mean, there's always situations where it's always, it can fit in. If I had if I was running an adventure for some, grade school kids, I would do that. All right, we're going to do it. And I'd have one of the goats trapped by a big dog or something. So there's a little danger involved, elevate what the bullshit that they put up in there and everything like that. But there's nothing usable in the keep That's the thing. It's all crap, and it doesn't make any sense. And then it's illegal to sell weapons. What?
It's the whole none of it made sense. Dude.
Yeah. And then even the map, they had the hex crawl part, the whole big map. It wasn't a hex crawl. It was just like they had areas, and then the one area, there was absolutely no reason whatsoever to have that area in this box set. Because it didn't serve the purpose. So they put some stuff in there, but it didn't come into play at all. And you had to basically cross this river that was going to eat you alive if you tried to cross it. And there was no reason. So there was nothing in there that would have helped out the adventure. Made no freaking sense.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So, when you leave that paradigm of thinking and that way of module or adventure creation, adventure DMing, once you leave that, you're lost in space. And it's a hard shift to get back to what we do, right? Once you leave this, you're not so much lost in space, because this served as a good example for what you could do. Right. And I think that's the point. And the point of it all that we started with the video on is that these are story driven. All right. The new 5e stuff. And this is where we started the video, is that the story driven thing is not your friend. Give them a location, give them something to start with, some exciting adventure, scary, dangerous, mysterious, whatever the fuck, hole in the ground somewhere, building, ruin, whatever it is. Throw it out there and give them a reason to go. You need scary place, reason to go. That's it.
Well, the only thing I would add to that is, I mean, the story, I still think there's like background stuff like that, but in D&D's case, or in Wizards of the Coast case and their products, the story drives the adventure. An adventure should drive the story. That should be, that's the way it should be. But for whatever, Wizards of the Coast just doesn't get that concept. And because they don't know how to. I mean, granted, I couldn't write an adventure that big without assuming things, without assuming some. It's just impossible to, how am I going to get to the players to this end part? And I've got I got to get him through. I don't know how many. What is Ravenloft? Is that like first through 20th level or something like that?
Yeah.
It's just obscenely, like they're doing basically it's a whole campaign, isn't it?
1 to 10. Yeah.
That's a massive amount of time and effort type of thing, where it's like what you were saying, Joe, doing the smaller modules. Let's get back to the modules. That's why they're called modules. They were just a little thing. And you can do these little steps instead of just doing this long ass drag. Because let's face it, I know in the past when I was going through Caves of Chaos, I was like, I'm kind of tired of I'd like to do something else besides do the caves right now. Can we do something else?
Yeah. And that's what I'm doing with you guys, with your adventure, as I'm developing it. I'm making my own Keep on the Borderlands. It's gonna be a Keep on the Borderlands, and that's where the similarity ends. You know what I mean? That's it. And it's going to have a sandbox area, right? And so, but I'm designing, there are going to be caves and, monsters and shit, but obviously, because I'm going to keep that element, but there's a whole sandbox, there's a whole region that we're developing out for that. And that's the fun part, is creating your own thing. And that's the other thing that these books don't teach you, is that there is true joy in creation. There is true joy. I did a post yesterday on the YouTube, just as a, you type a text and like a tweet, whatever the fuck. And I said, here I am sitting for the last half hour looking at my wall, right? In silence, my coffee's getting cold. And this is like, it's the greatest fun ever, because this to me is how I create. I don't look at rules. I don't look at monsters. I don't start rolling dice on random tables to create my adventures. I sit in silence and I look at a wall. And I just think and think and think. And when I get enough ideas that I can't contain them anymore, I run to the computer, start typing them all out. And then I go back and think some more. And I just let the shit come to me. And then I stop thinking. And then once you stop, you get your brain racing, and then you just sit back and shit will just pop into your head all throughout the fucking day. And there's such joy in creating your own thing. That's what Wizards is depriving these people of, the joy of learning how to create their own fucking adventure. Isn't that why we do it? To be creative. I mean, this is why we do it. We don't do it to run somebody through a scripted fucking adventure,
Right.
True.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
I think the other aspect too is the players. When you're a player and you run through a railroaded adventure, when you look back and you tell your friends, right? Yeah, I beat Strahd, or we ran through the adventure. Everybody knows exactly what the fuck happened. Okay, you beat it along the rules and the confines of that fucking game. You don't need to tell the stories, right?
Right.
Everybody knows what you did and how you did it. Oh, you went through that as well. No explanation needed, right?
Right.
But when the players are going and saying, yeah, I ran through Tim's scorn and all this, mind raped in the alley and every other bad motherfucking thing that ever happened to me and all this shit, right? And you come out of it and you survived, you have a tale to tell. It's like legendary, it's mythic, it's gothic, whatever the situation was, but there's something to tell because as a player, you did it. You know what I mean? You actually did the fucking thing, where instead of I ran through the thing that somebody wrote for me. It's a very different vibe.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. Rant over. Sorry.
No.
That's what we're here for. The rant.
Rant.
Yeah.
Rant.
I believe it's somebody's mother's milk, from what I heard. Yeah.
True. My tears of anger were somebody's mother's milk, or was that?
Yeah, something like that. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, they're drunk on your tears.
Speaking of drunk, I got to get another refill here, and I think we're done. We got a half an hour in the can. I think we said everything we needed to say. Did we? I think we're good.
I think so.
If you're watching, you're a brand new DM. Just take for what we said with a grain of salt, and just say, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
Do you need a story to have an adventure? You don't. You just need a starting place, a couple of ideas, and ask your players, where do you want to go? Which direction do you want to go on the thing? So don't feel like you have to have a book this thick that's going to tell you how to play your game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Don't forget to subscribe, like, and do all that other stuff on all three of our channels.
Yeah, we're trying to get Tim monetization as soon as humanly possible. All right, because Ivy has a cast iron pan, an addiction, and so his wife, and chalk paint, and so we need to get Tim money to afford all of this stuff for her kitchen. All right,
and Halloween doodads. She needs Halloween.
Halloween doodads as well.
That is very true.
It's Summerween, so yes, we need to get her stuff. So get him monetized. Subscribe to the channel. But all of us, we all have different takes and different opinions on this stuff, as you can see. But we're all friends still, so that's the benefit. Hanging out with different takes, and so just subscribe to all our channels, guys. Click that subscribe button because this is a collaboration, and you'll be able to hit all three of us at once. All right.
Cool.
Thanks, everybody.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
See you next Thursday.